Join my Discord community. Links in the description. Armin is underrated, and fuck everyone else who says otherwise. Bill? Okay, I'm kidding on that part.
Or am I?
But really though, Armin Arler is, without a single shadow of a doubt, the most important character in all of Attack on Titan. Don't believe me? Well, in this video we're going to absolutely obliterate the notion that Armin is somehow an underutilized, underused, and a waste of a character. If you still don't believe me, literally watch and learn, because I'm gonna explain it to you. From his relationship to Annie, his taking of the Colossal Titan, and his handling of Eren so far in the series, we are going to look at key examples which shows why I think Armin is the best character in all of Attack on Titan, but also, most importantly, the prettiest. Armin is a character that undergoes significant development throughout much of Attack on Titan. He's a dynamic character, but not initially, as is evident with most dynamic characters. This is where most people will say Armin is weak and cowardly throughout, and there are a multitude of good reasons for people to initially think this, as Armin starts as kind of a timid person. Isayama portrayed Armin as someone who lacked a lot of self-confidence, and for that reason, this is the image of Armin that is stuck within most people's minds. But why? Well, not to get too into the weeds, a human being's first impression is very important and can paint out our perceptions of a person. Let's practice this right now, actually. Type a comment below on your first impressions of me after first watching my content. Then compare that to what you think of my content now after becoming a regular viewer. I imagine some things will generally stay the same, but for the most part, your perception of who I am is often changing. Now, with Armin, combine that initial portrayal with him now often being outshadowed by his friends like Mikasa, a stoic and self-determined warrior hell-bent on protecting Eren and Armin, would snap a neck and even betray her own side if it meant that her two beloved family members came under attack and were harmed. Then we have his other friend, Eren, who wields the most power out of probably any single living group entity or otherwise in the series. So it's no wonder that Armin over here with his brain power, and don't be fooled, it is a nice brain, would paint a perception that Armin is weak and adds nothing important to the series. But there is no excuse if you think that this is his entire character throughout the series. If so, you need to start paying more attention, because this character is absolutely wild. No, really. And I'm going to break it down for you. Armin is quite literally one of, if not the most important characters in Attack on Titan. Let's start with one of the most character-defining stories for Armin in Attack on Titan, his relationship with Annie Leonhardt. Now, I've made plenty of videos on, and almost every one of them I've talked about how her relationship with Armin has always been portrayed rather phenomenally. That's because these two characters really complete each other. They show how in the real world, two people can grow over time and how that change may look like. This is because while human nature may never change, people do however change their beliefs and outlook on many things, and their story shows the complex nature of this inner working. When both of these characters are introduced, they could not be any more different. We don't even really clock that they're in the same realm of relatability even. Annie is detached, cold, just generally unrelatable. This is in stark contrast to Armin, who very much is in touch with his emotions, not too long before experiencing a deeply traumatic event, no less. On the outside looking in, Annie really just seems too cold and distant for anyone, let alone Armin, to be able to conceive the possibility to reach out, because she's just too far away. And as we come to learn, that was probably for a very good reason. Annie was a key figure responsible for a lot of Armin's trauma. However, a key event that would end up shaping their relationship is when Annie asks Armin a very simple question. If given the order, would you sacrifice your life, Armin? Armin's answer, especially when you consider where this character would go, actually sort of incredible. He answers, yes, if the order was given. Armin is not a liar. As the series progressed, time and time again, he would put himself on the front lines of war and surefire destruction. For example, when cornered by the Survey Corps, when they were convinced and led by fear to believe that Eren was some monster trying to destroy humanity. Though, it was Armin who actually convinced them that was not the case. This is because Armin's strong suit is actually more so conflict resolution through Marco's favorite pastime, talking. When Eren and Mikasa picked up more physical traits, Armin was sort of forced to develop skills his better halves probably just don't have. Armin is unique in that he is the only one who doesn't really escalate, but not because he's weak, because he doesn't have to. And while this moment is not related to Annie and Armin explicitly, I think it was important to establish this moment in conjunction because it shows a side of Armin which is explicitly unique to, well, Armin. Now, the Survey Corps and the military have found out that Annie is one of the Titan shifters, and to capture her, they plan to lead her into a tunnel. Can't transform her into a tunnel, right? But it's Armin in the heat of the moment when everyone is ready to cut Annie down if need be to get revenge because they are so sure that she's evil. It's our boy, our guy, who simply asks Annie to talk first. He doesn't make any, nice pun, aggressions towards her. Because Armin, figuratively speaking, has the high ground.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Both of them know this. Armin outplayed Annie, and it didn't have to go down the way it went either. But it was actually Annie's choice in the end to transform when cornered, choosing to forego talking, knowing her mission was riding on her shoulders. This would ultimately lead to her fighting against Eren, only to crystallize herself for her own safety, and years later, eventually, when the rumbling was activated, would be freed after Eren removed all of the hardening. So she eventually decides to join up with the Survey Corps. The rest is really a story for another video that I've already made. Weird how that goes. So let us now refocus and contextualize Armin. Armin, throughout this entire ordeal with the female Titan, showed that he was not a coward or even really timid. When push came to shove, Armin chose to shove back, then be pushed around like he was a kid. This is because Armin had people he cared about, much like Annie. Sure, it was probably scarring to be stared down and chased by the female Titan like he was, but he stood his ground. He never faltered. He never ran, he never cowered. Sure, he was weak and timid, but by the time Annie is freed from her crystal, Armin has already faced down the guns and cannons of humanity's finest, met eye to eye with, well, Annie, ultimately being a key figure in her downfall and capture, by the way, and oh, I don't know, taken the Colossal Titan. Needless to say, Armin has quite literally looked down the barrel and still faced it head on, confronting it, afraid probably, but who wouldn't be, but most importantly, stoically and heroically. More so than probably any other character in the series. This is why Armin and Annie's relationship is sort of important as well, because his handling of Annie and the female Titan showed how resourceful, tactful, and pragmatic Armin can be. And also, freaking smart. Quite frankly, Annie never stood a chance because, while Annie has a pessimistic outlook and can see through all this stuff, yada yada, Armin can be both. And that. And much more. However, his handling of the Colossal Titan would be some of Armin's most character-defining moments in the series yet. When the Survey Corps aim to retake Shiganshina, they are left with a couple roadblocks, we'll say. The Armored Titan, the Beast Titan, the Cart Titan, by the way, and of course, the Colossal Titan. In other words, they now have to face their former comrades, Riney McMuscles and
the Lord of Tall, Barclophagus Buchanan.
What chance do we have when they failed?
For it to succeed, the recruits and I have to die.
What'll it take to put him down for good? Why won't he just stay dead?
Is this Levi?
I know!
My name's Monkey D. Loop. Hi.
I need a weapon.
Humbled and humiliated, you for one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker.
What do I do, Lord? Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
We know how this story goes. Armin is forced to put himself in harm's way, proving to everyone that not only can the man walk, oh my god, this man can talk, and hooks onto
Barklophagus
and refuses to let go, even though he is being, well, quite literally burned alive. Armin would rather sacrifice his own life than to cowardly back down, especially to someone who calls himself
Barklophagus.
Armin proved in that moment that, yeah, he's no coward. He faced the Colossal Titan. And not only did he face the Colossal Titan, he outsmarted, outplayed, and checkmated I'm not gonna say it. You just got rolled. Then, with Erwin choosing to not inherit the Colossal Titan, there is only one option. Armin now holds the power of the Colossal Titan, the most destructive force in Attack on Titan. So, how did Armin use this power exactly? Well, interestingly enough, I think Armin is the best wielder of the Colossal Titan between the two we know in the series. And there's many reasons for that, but mainly this is because the ability to transform and basically level entire villages and small cities. Armin is a walking nuke, and he knows exactly how to use it to full effect. Now think about this, my dear viewer. Armin is one of the most thoughtful and tactical minds in all of Attack on Titan, and despite what you may perceive the Colossal Titan to be initially, this is actually perfect. The Colossal Titan is slow, lumbering, an imposing force, but it's nowhere near agile or graceful, meaning it only has a few strong suits. In fact, really the only two advantages the Colossal Titan has is its size and its destructive transformation. And really, the first one is sort of a double-edged sword. This is a Titan that should really only be used to disorient and disrupt the enemy and really should not be used for anything else. The Colossal Titan is not the Attack Titan. It's almost immobile, due to the downside being its constantly shrinking size and the fact it can only have one devastating transformation realistically, making it useless if not used sparingly and tactically so. However, what you should realize is this. The Colossal Titan's strengths play directly into Armin's strengths. This Titan, if you really think about it, was really made for someone like Armin. Armin proves just this in the attack on Liberio as he transforms, unleashing the devastating and destructive force the Colossal Titan is capable of. Leveling buildings, blowing boats out of water, upturning houses, turning the ground into a molten hellscape, capsizing buildings in liquefied rock and dirt. Armin saw first what he was capable of, and that horror clearly scarred him. This would be one of the only times we ever really see Armin use the Colossal Titan in the series, and for good reason. It shows the integrity of his character to be responsible with his power and not use it hastily. He doesn't misuse it, and instead goes through intense deliberation and planning, knowing that the only real strength of the Colossal Titan is one so horrifying and devastating that really no singular man should decide alone how to use its power. For a moment, when he transformed, he became death, destruction, and everything with it. Though, Armin's toughest decision would follow not too long after this with his family, Eren, when he betrays the very people he was initially supposed to protect. While it certainly is tough doing what Armin has had to do up until this point in the story, there really are only very few things that could be as tough as confronting your best friend, the former savior of humanity, Eren Yeager. While you could argue everything before this was technically tougher, I want to highlight Armin's confrontation with this traitorous brother. After overthrowing the government and murdering several high-ranking officials, needlessly killing innocent Marlians before this, and I mean, you get the point really of what I'm trying to say, Armin and Mikasa have a sit-down chat with their Happy Meals. From there, they have one of the cringiest conversations in Attack on Titan, and I don't mean that like it's bad, but in the sense that the uncomfortableness of the situation was palpable. You could cut it with a knife if you wanted, and try it. Just don't blame me if you have a cut on your screen. All Armin and Mikasa wanted to know was really why he was doing this, and Armin, being the pragmatic and non-confrontational person he is, tries to talk Eren down off the proverbial ledge. But it was not enough, as Eren beats Armin and tells Mikasa she's nothing but a slave. How nice. And it's rather sad, but this moment will lead to one of the hardest things Armin has ever had to do. Something he never, ever backs down from. Take down and possibly kill his best friend, his family, his brother, the man originally meant to save humanity, Eren. So, let's lay all of the crap people spew about Armin's character to rest already, please. I've clearly shown how smart and tactical Armin is. I've shown why his non-confrontational manner doesn't make him a coward. I showed how effectively he used the Colossal Titan. I showed how Armin grew and became a non-static character. And if for some reason, somehow, you still deny, stop it. Get some help. On the left is a playlist of all of my AOT videos, and on the right is a video suggested by YouTube. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.